Google Hangout group discussion. I'm sorry, week 3, discussing chapters 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to be discussing with the group situations in which we have employed the various sources of power and influence referenced by Hackman and Johnson, and we will tie these sources of power and leadership into what we've already discussed and situations where we've had experiences with using the different powers and where it's appropriate. So on that note, does anybody want to start out?
Well, I guess I can start. I can say, thankfully, the power mode that we use here at my work is the expert power mode, and I think that's probably because my three coworkers that work in my department, we've all been here for over 12 years, and my boss is, like we talked about last time, kind of a laissez-faire leader, so he just leaves it up to us. We as followers are, in a sense, experts, and so he just lets us do what we need to do. I know it says here that it takes a long time to develop, and I guess in 12 years you do develop that type of leadership style. We basically lead ourselves here.
Which is good, and you find that in like high-performing teams, right? Teams that know what they're doing have a good line of sight on what the job responsibilities are.
Right, exactly. And it takes a long time to develop that, I guess, sense of trust to just be hands off and let us do what we need to do.
And that's a good thing. If the leader is comfortable sharing that power, not being a micromanager, this is where, and I discussed it in the earlier task. The laissez-faire is actually pretty effective for high-performing teams as long as you have a clear understanding of what your job role is,
right,
and your job responsibilities are, right?
Yes. It also says here that that this type of power is not as effective if the followers do not share the leader's goals, and in our situation we do all share the same goals, so it does work.
Yeah, so that's where the calibration piece comes in part. That's where the leader's responsibility is to calibrate everybody on what's needed, what needs to be done, and where the responsibilities are. So yeah, I use the expert power a lot in the job role I have too as a subject matter expert. So I definitely understand that. Anybody have any other comments or thoughts?
Well, with being a subject matter expert, wouldn't that tie in with being informative or information power though, rather than expert power?
Correct, but the expert power ties in with the laissez-faire type, where it's hands-off and the power is shared.
True.
Versus the information power, that's still where the leader is still controlling the situation, but shares it.
Well, okay, so hold on. So if you guys look to the right there on the information power, that's actually in kind of a negative way to use power, kind of how the connotation they're giving there. It's about hoarding information. I think we've all worked with people who their sole source of power at the job place is that they know something you don't.
Yes.
And they feel like that they're getting their job security through hoarding that info. I think that's really what, and being able to distort that and maybe make sure that their job's still secure. That's kind of what that's speaking about, I think.
Which I think that is where you lose track of your goals as well. Like, so where Holly says her and her team know clear goals, when you have information power, you choose not to give all the goals or limit how many goals like you tell your people so they aren't all on the same page with you anyways.
Yeah,
I definitely see that.
That makes sense.
I think that the expert power the statement that it says drains little, if any, emotional energy from the user. I think that's a good point, because we don't have to think too much about if someone's hoarding information from us or if somebody is distorting information. We all have the trust and confidence in each other that I have the information that I need to move forward and do the stuff that needs to be done. So that information power type of situation would be very draining. because you'd always be wondering and there'd be no trust. And it seems like that'd be a really inefficient work model.
Very true. Very true. I stand corrected. Well, actually, I've used a couple of these before.
Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
Sorry. Is unfortunately I had to use coercive power, reward power, and legitimate power. Legitimate power, obviously, once you get promoted, as you're getting promoted in the military, it's right there on your chest and on your hat as to what your position is. Okay, and that's just straight out legitimate power. And obviously, the book describes how your followers see that in terms of trusting you, or there's other items in here about you're not just a rank. Okay, you have to be a leader as well. Reward power, obviously, I have the ability to make somebody stay late, or I have the ability to pin a medal on their chest. Obviously, give them extra time off, give them a pass, maybe a couple days off of work, let them leave work early for due diligence or a good job on site, and especially coercive power. Unfortunately, I've had to use that. My best prime example would have to be prior to a deployment, given a group of guys that I had never met before, and I had about 3 months to work with them. 3 months with a group of 35 guys that I was first line super in charge of. I had to basically start from the scratch, start from the bottom, and coerce this team into a well-defined gelling unit, and I had to break them down. You know what I mean? And
break them down and build them up, right?
That's right. Unfortunately, yes, when it comes to that, and that actually paid dividends to me later on in life. This was 2011, I still received phone calls from these guys about what to do with their career, what advice they should take on certain schools that they need to take, constantly calling me up for just simple advice on how to move forward, which also ties into I guess root power, maybe, but I'm not.
The referring power. So you use the coercion to build respect and establish your role as a leader, and now they reach out to you because they look at you as a role model, right? So that's where the referent power comes in. So reaching out.
Right. Yeah. So.
Hey, Angelo,
and that made me
ask you
feel
a
good.
question.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? So, with the team that you had to train and you trained them quick, was that something where you train them up and then they shout, or they went ahead and started doing the tempo and you moved on to another role at that point?
Correct.
Kind of quickly?
Right. Yeah. So at first, I started off extremely hands-on, very micromanaging. This is the way it's going to be done. This is done by regulation, and this is the way I want it done. And it was extremely hands-on, in their junk, 24/7, not even letting them decide how they were going to tie their own shoes. You know what I mean? Not really, but just about. And started slowly allowing the team leaders to emerge, letting the team leaders take over the tasks and responsibilities. Eventually, I would step back and just have the squad leaders. I would call 3 squad leaders up, say, here's my task list. This is what needs to be done for the day. And then they would come and report back to me. I wouldn't even go check on the group as a whole.
Yeah. So I guess kind of where I'm going with that is what I noticed here is that it says one of the costs of that is that it becomes less effective over time. I think we've all worked for people that have approached it like an authoritarian way to start with, but then, and you respect them because of the power that they're supposed to have because of their title, right? But then over time, that becomes a lot less effective once you realize, hey, I can do this on my own, back off sort of a thing. So that's cool. You were able to recognize when they were able to take over for themselves. That's a good quality for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just can't have that type of reign over any unit or civilian sector or anything like that. You're just going to break them completely down, and you'll never get any productivity. Morale will be non-existent, and like I said, I did recognize when it was time to throttle back and allow personnel to take over and start doing stuff on their own. but it was a necessity. Just so you know, I had to do that.
Well, yeah, it says it achieves quick results, which I'm assuming you did.
Correct.
Yeah, and for the short term, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, and then move into the reward mode.
Yeah, for the short term, it's pretty effective, and it builds unit cohesiveness and calibrates everybody on the same page, and then from there you can move on. And it sounds like you transitioned into the referent power, which is actually something I'm much more fond of using. The referent power is good for people trying to step up into a leadership role and show that they can fit that role, that they can be a leader, and they have the charisma and the knowledge and the ability to communicate with the group to inspire them to follow. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did with that. So that's pretty effective military strategy on that. My eldest daughter is actually going through the Phoenix Police Academy right now. She's in week 9, and they are absolutely breaking them down to build unit cohesiveness, and she's got some good stories on that. So I'm I'm actually a pretty big fan of it because I'm seeing a lot of good growth in her on it. I'm happy about it.
Good character.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Krista?
On Angelo's or
Just in general.
in general?
I think we're all going around.
I've also had to use the referent power, especially at Starbucks, because I was promoted within like 3 months of being hired as a barista. And so I hadn't really built a lot of relationships. Like I went from being like everyone's best friend, and now they're like kind of their supervising boss. And so it was one of those situations where it went like at first I found myself trying to be like the expert and like just trying to like know everything and get it done and tell people what to do. And I realized that wasn't really working with my team because most of them were like, well, we were all equal like a week ago, and now you're telling me that I need to clean a floor. And so once I got back to that relationship status with them and building more of the cohesiveness as a team, and that I am for them and kind of in their same, like I will do the exact same thing they want that I'm asking of them, we ended up clicking a lot better. Like my whole floor, if I asked them to do something as a favor, or hey, can you guys stay like 5 minutes later in your shift just to help cover a break that somehow fell through the cracks, they normally would do it willingly without really putting any attitude towards it. And the interesting thing I found is that I could ask that question, but then another supervisor could ask that question who didn't have the same rapport with them, and it would be a totally different response. So it was kind of interesting to see the side-by-side comparison of those two, just how important building the relationship with with your followers was.
And you brought something up that's really key. It's the relationship building piece. That's critical to building trust, and then building the leadership piece where they will follow you, where they do trust you, and do believe in you. So I can definitely understand and relate to that.
Yep. And to add on to Krista's thing, somebody told me early in my military career, the more rank you get, the less friends you have.
Oh,
I've heard that too.
No doubt.
A customer told my manager one time that it was lonely at the top, and she didn't really respond well to that because she wants to try and be people's friends. But I was like, sometimes you do have to be a little tougher. But
yeah, I think it would be really hard to manage friends if they're taking advantage of you. If they're looking out for your best interest and they're a true friend, then that is one thing. But I think it's not that easy to do that.
All right. So anybody got anything else? I think we had a pretty good discussion here.
Yeah, I don't think I went. Yeah, sorry. Let me go like for 2 minutes. I didn't. So okay, I got it. Wow, we can be done now if you want it. I mean, I got 30 seconds, but no. Just I do IT program management, so it's kind of a weird space because you have to not only you have to manage up and manage down, right? You have to make the people that you work for feel like they're smarter than they are, and you have to make the people you work with feel empowered so they don't feel like they're that they're oppressed. You know, that they can always participate, and everybody's a team, no matter what rank or file you are in the program, which is it's kind of a unique thing. You know. You don't really get that within an operational structure. You know, you don't really get that within, you know, here's the names of the people and here's what their ranks are, or here's the names of the people and here's what their roles are. You know, so we use legitimate power to find roles, but we also use reward power. We use build up rapport over the course of the program and with the stakeholders, and you know, expert power is tops. You know, in technology, you know, if people don't think you know what you're talking about, then they're not going to listen to you. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta walk the walk and talk the talk, right?
Yep, that's right. And you know, and that's what's great about, you know, learning more about leadership too, is you can really learn how when to use the different types of power. I'm learning a lot as I go along here. I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I still there's not a day that goes by I don't learn something. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
All right.
So for next week,
Okay,
are we going to stick with 6, or do you guys want to meet a little later?
I'm gonna stop this real quick. Hold on.